Hi there guys, so today I've got a 6-month little review, 6 months later, of the iPhone 14 Pro Max, 512GB of storage, and this one is in the colour silver. So this is my personal phone that I've used since the release day, which was September 16th, 2022. The phone follows much of the same design language as the previous iPhones, so the 12 and 13. Realistically, the only visual change has been this new dynamic island at the top instead of the previous notch. This is rumoured to come to all iPhones for the 15 series coming out in September. So yeah, that is going to be a new standard feature on the iPhones, and this year's 14 Pro and Pro Max had that first. So in terms of the colour, as you can see, I went for the silver one. I feel like this year, my personal preference, this was my favourite looking one. I feel like it's more like a white. It's less silver, more white this time, looks more pure. I've been with every single colour you could think of previously, really. I went from the black iPhone 7 Plus to the gold XS Max to the green 11 Pro Max, back to the gold for the 12 Pro Max, Sierra Blue for the 13 Pro Max, and now I've gone for silver for this one. For the last couple of years, Apple have been doing a mid-cycle refresh with colours, so they might bring out a random colour midway through the cycle. For example, the 13 Pro Max have brought out this lovely alpine green colour mid-cycle. And then this time around for the 14, they didn't do the Pro, but they have done the yellow iPhone regular 14. So that's what we got this time around. I mean, I would have loved a green 14 Pro Max if they did it from the start. So fingers crossed for the 15, really, that they have the green one. It's my favourite colour. I was going to get the space grey for this phone, but it was space black, and I wasn't too keen on that one. So I went for this one because I feel like with the sort of pure white / silver colour, I feel like the accent of the black colours with the lenses and then also the notch on the front, I feel like it's a really nice contrast and I feel like it stands out. So my favourite colour this year was the silver, so that's why I went for it. So having the 14 Pro Max from release day, I honestly can't say that I've experienced much difference from the 13 Pro Max. I mean, that dynamic island is cool. Can't say I use it a lot because it's such a big phone, you'd have to be reaching up there all the time. So it's nice to see some information displayed. For example, if we set a timer, I always like to do this at work so I know when I'm back from a break instead of having to check every time. So if, for example, I'm on a break for 20 minutes, I love that when I'm anywhere else on my phone, it's still at the top. So things like that, I am finding handy, but it's not really like life-changing or anything like that, but I do appreciate it being there. One thing about this phone that I have appreciated is the big, bright display. So this year around, the maximum brightness outside is 2000 nits when in direct sunlight. And I have noticed that I've not had any instances where you can't see the screen. We will see what it's like come summer, but I'm pretty sure it's going to hold up better than any iPhone before in that category. Just like the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the 14 Pro Max's camera has been brilliant. I mean, it gets a lot of sort of detail. I feel like it's a very accurate representation of what you see. Unlike Samsung, I'd say they more sort of saturate the colours and it doesn't look as realistic. New to the 14 series for the camera was the action mode, which if you click this button at the top, it means that if you are, I don't know, for example, running with it and it's jolting everywhere, supposedly the video is meant to come out very still and composed compared to your wobbly hands. Personally, would never need that. It's not something I've ever used. It's not something I desire to use. I mean, I'm not going to lose sleep if I don't have that feature, but it's nice to have it there as an addition. There is a little caveat to the camera that I'm finding on the front-facing camera is when you take selfies in low light, it tends to blur them out. So on the viewfinder, it looks perfectly detailed, but when you do actually take that picture, it will smooth it and it won't look as good. So I feel like that's something that could be amended moving forward. I know it's not the quality of the camera, it's sort of the effects afterwards, the HDR, all the settings like that. I feel like they could be fixed to make it look better on the front-facing camera. So that's the only gripe I've got sort of with the camera, really. I feel like everything else it is a really good one. Battery life wise, let's have a little look at my battery. Where are we? Battery, there we go. So battery health for me is on 100% still, which is really good. Usually, I mean, it stays at 100 for quite a while, and I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of weeks that went down to sort of 99, 98%. I feel like it stays at 100% for a longer amount of time, and then when it does degrade more rapidly than staying at 100%. I personally don't feel like there's been a massive jump in battery life. I feel like when I think of good battery life on an iPhone, I always think back to that 11 Pro Max that I had in that green colour. I just feel like that was the most drastic jump between phones and good battery life. And I feel like it's been very sort of stagnant ever since. I feel like there's not really been much improvement there. So I feel like for the 15 or 16, anything moving forward, a real nice change would be to see some really good improvements in battery life. I mean, I am a very heavy user, and the screen is on for this for me about, as you can see, screen active 8 hours. It's usually 7 or 8 hours a day, which is a lot of screen time. As you can see, a lot of TikTok, a lot of Spotify, everything like that. I feel like the Pro is targeted towards someone like me that likes phones and likes using things like top end features. So yeah, 7, 8 hours a day. I feel like sometimes it can die before the end of the day, but usually I can last a full day with the battery. Maybe if you're not as heavy as a user, maybe 4 or 5 hours, you might even see up to 2 days battery perhaps, but I mean it can always be improved, and we would like longer battery if possible. Innovation wise, I feel like Apple choose a design, they stick to it for 3 years, barely any differences, and I feel like because technology's got so good now, it's hard to get to that place where making a change is going to make a huge difference because everything's kind of so good, if that makes any sense. But it would be nice if they gave us something brand new. Can you imagine if they put like a screen on the back like Samsung do with the flip phones, where, for example, you could see a cover screen or just anything different, change the layout of the camera? I'm not sure, but I feel like the innovation is seriously lacking, sort of, compared to what other manufacturers are doing at the moment. So why don't they bring out a flip phone? Why don't they bring out a fold phone? I'm not saying they're not working on them, because they might be, but we've not seen them. So it'd be good for them to bring out something different that people are going to want, because the same old iPhone, it's going to tempt people away. Just as a quick example, my twin brother went for the S23 Ultra this time, and he's been an iPhone user since the iPhone 4. He's got a 13 Pro Max, and he went to the Samsung. I mean, after a few days, he decided it wasn't for him, and then went back to the iPhone and sort of returned the Samsung. But it's going to tempt people away that there's not been too many changes, and people are seeing these Samsungs with these 100 times zooms and what they can do. And I feel like people just get tempted by other offerings because iPhone's pretty similar to what it has been for the past couple of years. That being said, though, I am a massive Apple fan. It all comes from a good place. I will always stick with Apple. I'm not completely subjective, though. I do use different devices. For example, this has been filmed actually on a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4. I also use Alexas for my home for the sound sort of smart speakers. I find that Siri isn't that good. I'm not going to lie. That could do with a massive uphaul to sort of match Google or Amazon's offerings to make it even better. That's why I wouldn't ever get HomePods, because I just think they seriously lack in sort of functionality. Even though the sound might be really good, it just doesn't do what a smart speaker should be able to do. Overall, I do think the 14 Pro Max is a solid iPhone. It doesn't really warrant the upgrade over the 13 Pro Max. So if you have the 13 Pro Max, no point. There's literally no point. For me, though, I am a tech person. I love tech. I work in the telecoms industry. It's just what I love to do. Also, I don't just keep the old phone. It does get sold on or recycled, so I'm not sort of wasting phones or anything like that. But yeah, the average user doesn't need the new phone every year. It's just something that I really like to do and have the newest and latest technology, because I'm just a bit of a geek. So I do have a little list of things that I would like to see on the iPhone 15, which will be coming in September. So USB-C is number one. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to have to do that anyway because of the European court rulings that all manufacturers are going to have to supply the same sort of charging functionality to reduce waste and be better for the environment. A different design language would be nice. I mean, from the leaks so far, it looks the exact same with a bit of a curve around here, less bezel, and that's about it. But I mean, I would like to see a different design. I think something fresh and new would be a really good step for Apple. I think they could fix up that software for the front camera blur when you take a picture and it blurs after for the smoothing effect. I really don't like that. Don't know if anyone else has noticed that. Comment down below if you have, but it's just something I've really noticed. I think it did it on the 13 as well, but yeah, just annoys me. So larger optical zoom, preferably 6 or 10 times. So we're at 3 times at the minute optical on this camera. To catch up with Samsung and other offerings from different sort of manufacturers, I do feel like we should be 6 or 10 times optical zoom for the 15 series. It is rumoured that they're going to bring like a periscope lens in, so let's fingers crossed that that is going to happen. Bigger battery, please. I mean, I know we last a day at the minute and it's pretty solid in terms of battery, but we'd never complain at more battery life. I mean, that's just a given, really. Something new that no one else has done. I mean, just be a bit more innovative. I feel like that'd be really good. Colours, I'd love to see another green one. I would love that Alpine green that they brought out on a 13. I just feel like they need to repeat that colour. Lovely. Come back to space grey, maybe. I'd like a bit of that. Wasn't a fan of the purple on the 14 Pro Max, so maybe just something different. I've seen like an ombre, kind of orange, sort of rusty colour teased quite a bit. Maybe they'll bring something like that out. Maybe a product red Pro version, that'd be something different. So yeah, that's pretty much everything rounding up the 6 months review of the 14 Pro Max, my experience, some thoughts, things like that. So yeah, until the iPhone 15 video, which will be on my channel when it comes out in September time, that's pretty much me done for the 14 series. So yeah, make sure you thumbs up the video if you like it, and then subscribe if you're not already. Okay, thank you for watching.